mentioned that they had a spill. They flipped one and lost 2 rowers out of that. Just probably maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes before we came down. That
Yeah.
group of rowers, that's the ones that had flipped.
They were in oar boats, so smaller rafts, but highly experienced guides. And I think they flipped in Hermit, which is another significant rapid farther up. Was that day 3 maybe or 4? So, and then they came into lava and two.
Ben.
And two. So they, I think the oar boat, and you hear this from the other guests, not from the guides themselves. Guys might talk about it in a year when they can laugh about it. But in Hermit, they went over backwards, I think, is what the story was. And, and then in lava, they just got washed off the boat. Which I could totally understand happen, because if you're holding on to oars, I don't think you're holding on quite as tight as I was, where I had my death grip on the strap. So, but that's what they signed up for, I guess. 14 days seems like about 7 days longer than I want to be on the river. But I don't know. I suppose if you came into it thinking that, I'm sure they feel like they did it the right way. It would have been a great trip too. But I appreciate how hard it must have been to do a whole 14-day road trip. But so it's not as if on this level of water nothing happens. I mean, people were going in the water. It's just that we had big motorboats and highly experienced guides, and they were definitely keeping us safe and keeping the machine safe. That's one thing I remember. It was after lunch on day 3, I think it was. Was it after lunch when we were at Little Colorado that they really wrapped up the machines? So the dialysis machines had been strapped to the deck, and they're in their travel cases with we taped the seams, and they stayed dry the whole time. But then all of a sudden after lunch, they wrapped tarps around it, and then they put pads over it. It was like, what's going on? And I think that's when we hit Granite Falls I think that was right before Granite Falls. And so every time we saw them really button up the machines, we knew we were going to be hitting some big waves and getting wet. And that was very true. But I think the machines have made it all the way down there. The last obstacle is the road home. We're about 12 miles from the end. And there's going to be a bus meeting us there. And we take the first miles up a river of river rocks and bouncing up that, and then it's about 25 miles of bouncing, and then about another hour to the first town. So first opportunity to check cell phones and things. Everybody's kind of curious at this point about what's been going on in the outside world. Loved ones and pets and everyone's safe and doing well without us, which I'm sure is the case. But we're all thinking about that now, and so, but the machines have to make it up that road to the hotel. So, but I think as far as the trip itself, the machines did good in a very extreme and harsh environment. I can't really think about taking them anywhere more challenging than this. You could get more remote. You could go up into the northern Canada or Alaska and be farther from things, where here, in theory, the helicopters can come and pull you out. Up there wouldn't be a helicopter coming to pull you out. So you could do that, but I think that just extends your logistical tail more than the environment itself. And there'd probably be a lot more mosquitoes up there, but no, I think this is about as harsh an environment as I can think of taking that machine, and it did well.
Okay, you're really close to it right now. We're just getting ready to finish the trip. But can you go back and even find one thing that just sort of strikes you as the wow moment of this trip?
Going on that second day, or the second treatment, was the wow, this might not be a good idea moment. or just, I mean, as far as that sort of wow is, you know, because you don't know, because we had the storm the day before. It started with wind, and then it just torrentially rained and wind, and so you don't know what's happening when you're in the middle of a storm. Is it getting worse? Is it getting better? Is the rain going to be coming next? You know, now we know it can hail, and so you know, and you gotta just hope that it all holds together. And there were, I think, about 5 people all around that tarp holding it down while I was getting on, and so and I could have stopped it. You know, I could have said, no, we're not going to do this. But it was just one of those times where you see that big curling wave in front of you, and stopping isn't the best idea. The best idea is to accelerate and get through it, and hope that right beyond it, the waves are just a little bit smaller. And so that's what we did, and so indeed, you know, by the hour later, the wind had dropped down and everybody could relax. But you just have to believe that's going to happen, and sometimes it's a little hard to believe that when you're right in the middle of it. But but I think the other wow moments were just I think sitting on that trail on the slope in that hailstorm. That was a wow moment when we were sheltering there and watching the weather come across the canyon. I think, you know, crossing a tiny little ledge and then finding this patio, they call it, up the I can't think of the name of the Deer Creek. Up Deer Creek. That was a wow moment. That was a great place just to enjoy. I mean, the Little Colorado was a wow moment. We were joking about that, just how it was. It's a color of blue you wouldn't expect in nature. It's like you know, and the water was warm after dealing with colder water, and it was fun. It's like a water park, and I mean, so that was a wow moment for sure. And but I think just a lot of times you just kind of look up and look around, and you're like, wow. That's amazing. And you know, sometimes I've heard people say the canyon gets boring, it's like monotonous, but I didn't find it that way at all. It went, you know, from pretty narrow at the start, and then we hit a really wide open section, which is kind of, I guess, what I thought it was going to be more like, where the rims and the kind of the cliff faces were far distant from the water. And then when we came back in and spent a day and a half in a narrow gorge like in the base rock of the canyon, which I didn't expect that or think about it ahead of time at all. And then we came back out into a kind of a winding area, and then now I guess we're a little bit wider, spread apart, and the rims are closer to us. So it, to me, you know, changed a lot during the trip. Made it pretty interesting. The last couple of days, it's been hot on the river, and the wind's blowing in your face. So, you know, the experience of being on the river changed too, day by day. So, I think it's really been a lot of wows. There's been a lot of wows. Waking up sometimes too, and when you first open your eyes, and the light is just amazing on the cliffs and the colors, and you're just like, wow, I'm in the Grand Canyon. So I think each morning when you wake up, it's a wow thing too. So.
Okay, good. I've kind of got tickled because